to www. My name is James. I am the world's worst web developer, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create components inside of components in Etch. So you've probably seen me create components before in other videos, but I don't think you've seen me create a component inside a component. And you might be thinking, who cares? What's the big deal? Well, the reason I want to do a video about it is because there is kind of I'm going to call it a getcha when it comes to creating components inside components, but there's an easy way to avoid the gotcha. I said getcha and then gotcha, whatever, you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and you're going to be thinking, that's weird, why does it matter? And then after I'm done doing it, I'll show you exactly why it matters. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to be doing it on this test website I have. I've been rebuilding WordPress.org's landing page just for fun. So you can see I've made quite a bit of progress, but I'm just going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to launch the templates section, and I'm just going to create a temporary template for fun. Let's create a post or a page template. And what it does is it copies the index template. So it already has a header, but I'm going to delete that. And we're just going to basically rebuild a header. And we're going to do it with the Etch documentation. So I think this is probably a twofold video. It'll be nice to see someone creating a fairly complex navigation using the Etch documentation, and I'm also going to be able to show you components within components. So buckle up. So if we go to the Etch docs, we're going to go to, I want to say elements, dynamic elements, and basic nav. And we're basically just going to be doing a bunch of copying and pasting here. Okay. You can watch Kevin's video. It's pretty interesting. Or you can just skip that and just start copying and pasting stuff. So you're going to see when I paste this HTML in, you're going to see that it already has a bunch of CSS with it. And that's because I've already done this on this website. And so, you know, when it sees the nav element with the class Etch nav, it's going to apply the same CSS that I've already applied to Etch nav in the past. So, but when you do this, you will have to paste everything. So first I'm just going to change section to header. I'm going to name it header, and I'm going to, let's see, let's follow the directions. What are we doing first? All right. Go to the thing. Yep. Create a header. Did that. Convert your header to a component. Okay. So it's just a section called header. So I'll probably even delete the container that's inside. So we have a header, that's it, nothing going on. And we'll right click, create component. So you just watched me create a component. Save, exit. Nothing groundbreaking yet. I promise it gets more interesting. So we move on to, we did that. Oh, then we're gonna go ahead and add a slot to the header. Oh, to the header inner container. Okay, so they kept the container. I just deleted it. So also, this is called header 1 because I already have a header component, just so you know, if you're wondering why it says header 1. If you're doing it for the first time, it'll just be called header. Let's edit this, and I'm actually going to, I'm just going to click container to add a container in there. And then we want to add a slot, just like the instructions said. But we don't want to just leave it as slot content. That's a specific thing. The slot content is going to, it's used on templates, and it's just saying, hey, whatever the content for whatever page or post we're looking at right now, put it here. So we don't want that. I think they give us the ideas to what to name the slot. We're going to name the slot right. Okay. Super interesting name there. Right. Because this is going to be on the right side of the header. I think that's it. Probably click save. We named it right. This will be the slot for the right side of your header. Don't worry about blah, blah, blah. Yep. Save and close. Boom. So we now have our header component, and you'll see we have this slot. So without editing the component, normally to do anything inside a component, you have to right click on it, click edit component. And now I can add more elements and do all sorts of stuff. But when you add a slot in there like we did, now when we're not in component edit mode, we can actually still drop stuff inside of it. So I could click on this and I could just drop a heading inside there. I'm not gonna, but I could. So next step, adding a basic nav. So add a flex div in the slot we created. All right, and then we're going to we're going to replace it with this. So inside the slot, just throw in a div, throw in whatever, and paste in that nav. And like I said, we're going to see all this CSS here already. You won't, but I will, because I've already done this on this website. So then you will have to come down here, copy this CSS, and paste it inside this Etch nav class. Just make sure you select the nav element so you see Etch-nav, and then paste it in there. And then we're going to keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling, and here's the JavaScript. We're going to copy that. Again, make sure you have selected the nav and go to your JavaScript box and paste that in. And we almost have a working navigation. We're getting close. Just keep scrolling. I think it's going to have us put in a hamburger menu next. Yep, add the burger trigger. So we're going to do this again. We're just going to drop a random div in there, and then we're going to replace the code with this. So next to the nav, not inside the nav, next to it, we're just going to drop a div, grab this, paste in our button code, and now we have a burger button. And again, we're going to need to grab some CSS, which I probably already have it. Yep, my CSS is already there, but you'll need to scroll down, grab this CSS, paste it in there, keep scrolling, grab this JavaScript, make sure the burger button is selected, paste the JavaScript in there. Now the last step is to create a JSON. So if we go back and let's save this, at some point we were supposed to turn nav into a component. Has it told us to do that part yet? Okay, so they want to turn the burger into a component. So let's go back up to where we were supposed to turn the nav into a component. Probably right here. Yep, right click nav, choose create component. We'll do that. Create component. And then we're going to create a loop prop. A property is just something that you can use to kind of control a specific instance of a component. So you can drop a component 100 times on your website and it'll look exactly the same in every instance, but maybe you want to tweak one part of each of those components in each instance. That's what props are for. So the prop will be like something that you can do on each instance of the component to modify it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a loop prop, and we're just going to call this basic nav. I don't think it actually matters. It does matter because we're going to reference this. And we're going to select, I already created a nav, so we're going to select that. But if you haven't created a nav, all you do is grab this JSON that they give you, scroll down here. You can copy this JSON and then modify it. You also get a basic, simple JSON already with Etch. It's just a very basic JSON file. And I'll show you what the JSON file looks like and why it matters. So we've done that. We'll click Save. So what this allows us to do is we can drop this nav component somewhere, but we can use different nav menu items on each one by changing this for each component. So we drop this nav component on this page and we use this nav. We drop this nav component on another page and we use this other nav. And so we don't have to rebuild every time all the stuff you just watched me do, copying, pasting, all that, and all the CSS and all the JavaScript. We did all that one time and we created this nav component, and now we can reuse this nav component anywhere we want, and we're not restricted to using the same menu items every time. We could create a whole new loop and use a different loop on every one if we wanted to. So pretty powerful. One example of this is like maybe you have a nav in the header and the footer, and maybe your footer is has different nav items in it. You know, a lot of times you put things in your footer nav that you don't put in your regular nav, like a link to privacy policies and career page, whatever. So pretty useful. So let's go ahead and save and exit that component. And you can see it's already working. I mean, we just copied and pasted. The only thing I didn't copy and paste this time was the loop, which we'll take a look at that. So here's my loop, and you can see it's It's just the same loop as what they have on their example. I just copied this, pasted it in, and then I started modifying it. So look at theirs. The first one is home. Then they have item 2. Then they have some children of item 2. Then they have item 3, item 4. So I just went in and replaced that with news, showcase, hosting, extend, and then there's some children, and then there's learn. So it's basically the same. I just modified it for my own purposes, obviously. So, and you'll take a look at these. What are these called? Keys? Or this is the key and this is the value, I think. This is why I'm the world's worst web developer. I should know this. I'm going to call this a key. Look at these keys. We have label, we have URL, and then for the menu items that have children, there's a children key. So if we go back to our HTML, this isn't really what the video is about, but I figure while I'm in here, I might as well take a look at it. First of all, let's rename this component to something besides new component, nav. And again, it's calling it nav1 because I already have a component called nav. Save, but nav1 is still better than new component. All right, so if we look at our nav, and we'll just look at, like, we're not going to look at all this. It's kind of complex with a bunch of if statements and stuff, but we'll notice the loop is props.basicNav, and then it's as item. And then if we look here, we have item.url. That is pulling in this key. So it's saying for each of these menu items, the URL is whatever is the value for the URL key. So for the news, right now it's just that. I didn't actually make these real. I'm just rebuilding the WordPress page, and these aren't real URLs. So this should probably be, I'm guessing, hosting. This should probably be news, and it's probably /news /showcase. So whatever for each one of these items, it's going to say for the title. Let's look at right here. It's item.label. Okay. That's this right here, label. So news. And then the next one is showcase. And then the next one is hosting. And then the next one is learn. And for the URLs, it's using the URL key. If they have children, there's a whole another loop in there for children. Right here. Here's another loop. And it's just saying item.children. So it's looping through. There's an if statement that says if this item has children, then loop through those children and basically do the same thing we did for the other ones. So you can see it's going to loop through children. So we have, again, label URL. So it's neat. I don't know. I'm kind of nerding out about it. It's fun. And of course, adding a new item is very easy. You just copy and paste. You know, if you need one that doesn't have children, copy this. If you need one that has children, copy that. And you're good to go. But the point of the video is components inside components. And you might have some questions as you watch me do all that stuff, like what's the point of this? What's the point of that? Your first question might be, what was the point of creating this slot and dumping stuff in the slot? Well, I will show you exactly what the point of that is. I'm going to edit my component, my header component, and I'm just going to drop a random component in here. Let's drop my button component that I created. Okay, click save. Click exit. And you'll notice that, first of all, when I'm not editing the header, I can't even see that button component, right? You can't see the stuff inside your component unless you're editing the component. So you think, okay, well, I want to edit that button component, so I guess I'll edit the header first. Open that up. Now there's my button component. So I'll right click on that, and oh, I can't click edit component, which makes sense because that would get messy you're already in a component editor and now you're trying to edit another component inside of that component. It's messy. It would probably break stuff. You might get confused which component you're messing with. So you can't do it. And that's annoying. You're like, well, I need to edit this button component. So how do I do it? Well, you could just exit and just add the component to here. Right? And now I can right click and edit it. And then once I'm done editing it, I can just delete this instance of it. That's silly. This slot that we added actually allows us to edit the component within the component. So I'm not in editor mode for this header, right? I'm not editing the header component, but I can see this nav component that I put in this slot. So I can right click on that, and now I can edit this component inside of another component. Okay, so that's, as far as I know, that's like the point of these slots, right? I don't know what other point there is, because technically this all would work if I had not added a slot and I just dumped this nav component inside the header component. It would all still work. It would just be very annoying when later I need to try to edit that nav component that's inside of another component. So this alleviates that gotcha. That's the sort of the gotcha I mentioned earlier with trying to put a component inside a component. So just put the slot in there first and then drop the component inside that slot, and now you can edit the component just fine. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something. This wasn't supposed to be a tutorial on how to create a nav. If you saw that and you kind of understood most of it, but you still have a few holes in your knowledge, particularly with all those if statements that are in there that I didn't talk about, go back to the Etch documentation and watch Kevin's video. That's going to be, if you're just trying to learn how this nav stuff works, that video is going to be a lot better for you than my video, because this wasn't supposed to be a tutorial on navs. It's just supposed to show you components within components. So definitely check out this video if you want to learn more about creating a header, and keep an eye out for this. I'm not sure what this is going to be. In my humble opinion, as the world's worst developer, this basic nav felt kind of complex. So I'm pretty excited to find out what their idea of an advanced nav is. They don't have it yet. It's coming. So keep an eye out for that, because that'll be interesting. Anyways, I'll stop rambling. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.